It's Cullen and Company. Betty Brewer is something to see. You'll love Bill Cullen, and Betty's worth a hug. Now we supply the music, and me, I'm Milton D. Lugg. We're here from Morgan David, and boy, what a thrill. Here's Bill.
You might think I've been polishing this desk for hours. As a matter of fact, I have since early this morning. Good morning to you, for those of you who are seeing this show directly. If you're kinescope viewers out in the Middle West, good afternoon. Further west, good evening. And if you're far west, I'm awfully sorry disturbing you in the middle of the night like this. We want to straighten up one thing before we do another thing this morning, or whatever time it is where you are. I want to welcome you on behalf of Morgan David, very fine Morgan David wine. And last week we had several comments to the effect that the show went off upside down. Really now. Actually, we don't think this happened. I have no way of knowing, not having had an opportunity to watch the show. But if it had been upside down, my glasses would have fallen off. They always do. Speaking of glasses, that reminds me of something. Could you send in Milton DeLugg, please?
Hiya, Bill.
Hello? Milt, I can't hear you. Hello, Milt.
Me, Bill?
Oh, Milt.
Yeah, how do you feel?
Good, Milt. How are
Yeah,
you?
fine.
You sounded awfully far away there, but I got you better now. How is everything, Milt?
Everything is peachy.
Must be calling from on top of Old Smoky, is it?
No, it's me.
Oh, there you are. I'm
Petite
awful-
old moi.
What?
Little old me.
Petite old moi? Listen, I want to talk to you, speaking of petite old... what? How do you, do it again.
Petite, I should say pauvre old moi.
What does that mean?
Poor old me.
Poor old Milton. Speaking of poor old you, how about poor old me? What'd you bring me?
What'd I bring you?
Presents? Loot? Let me have the
Can
stuff.
have a drag at this if you want.
No, thank you.
Nothing.
This happens to be my birthday, and did you get a card announcing the fact?
No,
I mailed it. I don't know what happened, but you didn't bring me anything at all?
I'm sorry.
Well, listen, can you do something for me? Bring me something
Yeah,
next
what do
week.
you
Right
want?
now. No, next week you can bring me a present, but right now
All right.
I'll tell you what sort of, well, it's on my mind, the
Yeah.
theme song.
It's very nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it, but you don't, you go into, what is that? He's just plain Bill at the end?
Yes, plain Bill.
Yeah, well, I'm building up something, you know. I'm working, I'm hewing out my career here.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, and I like your haircut.
Well, it's healing now. Yes,
Yeah.
it's very bad.
Looks
yes.
good. No, if you could get some other kind of Bill in there. Now, there are a lot of Bill songs that you can use. For instance, well,
Bill
think of
doesn't
something.
ever send me pretty flowers.
That's Jim.
Jim doesn't send.
Well,
How about Bill Cullen? Someone beckons to me.
Bill Cullen, someone beckons to me. No, I don't like that. You got anything else with a Bill in? Really move it.
Can't you hear me, Cullen Caroline?
That doesn't have...
Cullen Caroline.
Oh, Cullen. Doesn't have... Listen, I like that. When can you do that? Now?
3-4 years. I don't know. We'll work it
Do you
out.
have anything else?
I've got a great. How about? And won't you come home, Bill Bailey? Boop doo 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 doo.
Say, you did that like Monroe there, kid.
Vaughn?
No, Maryland.
Oh, he's very good too.
He's very good.
Yeah.
You're thinking of Lucy. Listen.
My gosh, you're right.
Will you work on something real nice, because
Yeah.
I want to tell there you are, you. I want to tell the people a little something that I have here for them for free.
I'm with you, Dad.
All right. In case you folks don't remember who that was, I'm not going to tell you because he's doing too well on the show. What we would like to talk to you about, we mentioned something free, and we mean just that. We have something that I think you're going to enjoy ever so much. Mogan David has prepared, especially for you, this very fine Mogan David recipe book. It has, 80 or 90 very fine recipes of how to cook with wine. Now, a lot of people think that cooking with wine is a very expensive proposition because you go into the finest restaurants in the land and you'll find a lot of very fine wine dishes. Well, now, our idea with Mogan David is this, because Mogan David itself is an economical wine and a fine wine, and, well, we say all kinds of things about it, like sweet but never too sweet. It is also grand in cooking. And here is the little booklet that's going to show you how to do it. Let's take a look inside here and see if we can't come up with a recipe. Here is a whole section on poultry recipes made with Mogan David wine. We have Mogan chicken, Mogan David chicken mushroom casserole, Alabama pot stew. Oh, there are just recipes galore in here, and I will tell you one thing right now, that if you have this recipe book, when your husband comes home, or if you're the husband and your wife is out working, when the little woman comes home, she'll just say you're the grandest cook of all. How do you get it? Very simple. We have here an undersized postcard, as you probably see. Just take a regular postcard and write on it your name and address. Put on there, send me recipe book, or put recipe book. Don't write Mrs. Smith, you see the way we have here, because then all the recipe books will go to Mrs. Smith. But address it to Mogan David Wine, Chicago, 32, Illinois. And Department T, that's the important thing. T like in Ticonderoga, Tennessee, or anything like that. We'll give you the address again. Take a good look at it. Mogan David Wine, Chicago, 32, Illinois, Department T, as in, well, I don't know any more cities beginning with T. But anyway, that's it. You know, it's a straight up with a thing across. And we'll see that, and you send no money or anything like that, we'll see that post-haste, by return mail, you have yourself this very fine Mogan David recipe book we were talking about. So, come on, get one, won't you? Now that we've talked about the recipe book, we'll refer to it again a little later on, tell you some of the fine things in there. Milton, how have you made out with the song?
Well, we've done very well. We talked it over. We're going to play a little number entitled Crazy William.
Crazy William?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I never heard it.
Well, it used to be entitled Crazy Rhythm, but a little poetic license, and...
Your license has been revoked. But play away.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Here now.
Oh, boy, that was ever so much of it. You have just heard Milton DeLugg and his strolling trio, isn't it, Milton, I think, play a very fine rendition of a thing called Crazy William. Frankly, I've never heard of the song, but if they take the poetic license, that's perfectly all right.
Happy birthday to you.
You
Happy
didn't sing it.
birthday to
Oh,
you.
for me? For moi?
We remember.
Oh, isn't that lovely? Betty and Milton.
We were just
Thank
seeing you
you.
before. We knew it was
You did bake me this cake?
Yep.
Why the one candle?
Ask Betty.
Why the one candle?
No, I won't.
Is there anyone else we can ask?
I don't know.
Take a letter to the writer. Why the one? This is lovely. May I blow it out?
Please do.
I should
Okay.
make a wish first, shouldn't I? Well, wait. You two
want
talk
us
to me.
stand with arms akimbo or
How do
anything
you?
like that?
No, I'm making a wish. How do you spell 26 weeks? No, I've made the wish now.
All right, sir.
And if it's all the same with you, I will now blow out the candle.
Go.
Stand back. Watch the camera now.
Nice try.
Well,
And
That's a tricky. Bye, Milt. Thanks, Betty. Well, next week the show will come to you from Chicago, the Windy City, and we'll leave a door open. I'm awfully happy. Betty, thanks for the cake, and I want to thank Milt. Listen, how long have you been in show business, seriously?
about 10 years.
Well, you don't have to tell me the truth. 4 years, imagine that. Well, I've always done quiz shows, so I've prepared some questions I want to ask you. This is a regular quiz show. How do you feel about Niagara Falls?
All right.
Good, because you're very frank and honest with me. I presume, like most other fine singers, your favorite color is purple?
All right.
Yeah. Now, the thing I really am getting at here, what should the ladies at home do if they want to get a free copy of our Mogan David recipe book?
All right.
Yeah. Now, you see, that's a sight gag. The right is spelled W-R-I-T-E, and if you'll all write, we'll appreciate it so much. It's Chicago 32, Illinois Department. Hey, Betty, will you get me the squirrel?
Yeah.
This is important. Wait till I see. Thank you very much, Betty. We're going to hear from Betty a little bit later on, but right now, the thing I want to do is talk to you about this very delightful squirrel we have here. This is not an ordinary squirrel. As a matter of fact, his name is Frank Hoffman. I want you to remember the name because it will appear a little later. Also, he is not a stuffed squirrel. He is quite alive. He worked in Hollywood for a long time, and he found that it is much wiser to stand stock still like this and look stuffed. He ran around in Hollywood, got put into a squirrel cage, and was used to power Baby Leroy's erector set in the early days of motion pictures. But now, by standing still, he's appeared in a lot of things. You probably saw A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Well, he was there through the entire thing. And, what is it, On Borrowed Time? Studio One on this network. He was in that show when the devil was up in the tree. He was up there with him. And, of course, his motion picture success, actually one of the finest intellectual motion pictures ever made, feature this chap here, Tales of Hoffman. We'll go back to where I said his name is Frank Hoffman? Well, it sounded like an awfully good idea, but right now we're going to let him perform for you. If all you folks will pay real close attention, ladies and gentlemen, our squirrel, Frank Hoffman, listening to Betty Brewer sing. Betty? Be my guest.
Let's fall in love. Why shouldn't we fall in love? Our hearts are made of it. Let's take a chance. Why be afraid of it? Let's close our eyes and make our own paradise. Little we know that still we can try to make a go of it. We might have been meant for each other, to be or not to be, let our hearts discover. Let's fall in love. Why shouldn't we fall in love? You're looking fine for it, my, but you're cute. Your eyes, they shine for it, give me a hoot. Now is the time for it. Let's fall in love.
Well, you have just witnessed Frank Hoffman, our trained squirrel, listening to Betty Brewer sing Let's Fall in Love. Awfully glad she pronounced the words because I can never remember the name of that song. Anyway, that was Let's Fall in Love, and that was Betty Brewer singing. And, of course, we're going to tell you more about our squirrel later on in this series. You go over there every once in a while, don't you? Right now, what we would like to tell you more about is a very fine product, whom we represent on the air, as a matter of fact, Mogan David Wine. Now, we've told you, well, at the very beginning of the show, we talked about how you get our Mogan David Wine recipe book. Right now, we're going to talk about Mogan David Wine not so much in cooking, and you must admit with me that Mogan David Wine is a very fine wine for cooking, but it is also great for people who just plain enjoy wine. In other words, Mogan David can be served in the afternoon when you have bridge or tea party, something like that. It can, it can just freshen up your whole day. It's a very fine table wine, too, for dinner. As a matter of fact, it's not dinner time yet where I am. Might be where you are. If such is the case, then I'll toast you with Mogan David wine. A very, very fine wine. It sort of takes you back to the good old days when Grandmother used to serve wine. Mind you, the days that, well, we just don't see enough of right now, as a matter of fact. But try Mogan David wine. Get it at your dealer. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why we are here at this time of day. It's morning in a lot of places. We've told you about Mogan David wine in the nighttime, and we're quite sure you've been impressed. But we figure now you're working on your shopping list and getting ready to go shopping, so this is more or less of a subtle hint, at least I like to think it's subtle, to include Mogan David wine on that list you're making up. Do that, if you will. We'll be deeply appreciative. Right now, last week, we had some talk about not being able to see the cards at the end of the show. You'll just move over here, sir. Thank you. We thought we'd show them to you at this very minute. This is the name of the show. I like to keep this one on longer than the rest. I hope you can see that. This here is the young lady who sings songs to squirrels. Anyone else who might listen. Milton DeLugg. Of course, you met Milton. He's the boy with a haircut. Mike Dutton. I don't quite know how this figures into our scheme of things, to tell you the honest to goodness truth. And the Wine Corporation of America. They are our sponsors, and we love them dearly. You know, people have asked about our set. A lot of people think this is a little room with an organ for Milton and the boys, a desk, and a place where Betty sings. That's not true. Actually, this is a real small, cozy room. Would you dolly in closer so we can show the people our room? Now, you see, the very essence of this program is coziness and a certain intimacy, you understand? And in that way, we feel that we can all sit in this more or less small drawing room and enjoy the show as it moves along. So remember again, intimacy is the keynote of the whole show, and this little bunch of stuff. But everything is legal, and I'll say goodbye now, and drop in on us again next week. Well, so long.
Remember, Strike It Rich on the CBS television network.